were gonna go out to Fountain because they were bringing Arnie back there. But I told Holly I was taking the back road, and now I sent her a message. No, actually, we'll come to Fountain. But she hasn't been on her phone a couple hours apparently. So now we're passing by the turnoff, and I guess we'll go next time. Go out and see Kenny. So at the memorial for Arnie Jack today, I got to see Kenny's wife, Holly. She finally gave me my hoodie. I told her before not to mail it to me, save the money and give me an excuse to bump into her somewhere. Been waiting for a few months for this moment to get the hoodie, and today was a real nice time for it. I think we'll stop at the highway spot where the boys died. You know, I don't want to drive around Fountain in front of guests where everyone's beating up for Arnie, and I don't want to distract the family either, but it seems like the right thing to do. 3:30, make a beat back to Cariboo. At least we got to say goodbye to Arnie. At least we got to see the boys, get my sweater, see Holly, see Hudson there, and then
fucking right, buddy.
And then because Arnie Jack had just died, I stopped at Nisconlith, and I just stopped at the boys' memorial, and I seen Holly.
Oh no shit, eh?
Got my hoodie.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Awesome.
Yeah.
Fucking right.
Fucking look at you.
I know, eh?
Snap.
Hell yeah.
That was pretty awesome at the Cash Creek gas station. Kind of put a little cherry on top. Like, look over, I'm like, holy shit, Twin Rivers. That's my old boys. There's Hudson looking all wonderful like he always is. So on September 19th, 2023, Kenny and the boys were driving down this stretch of Highway 1, coming back from fire in Vanderhoof. They hit a transport truck head on. It's the first time that I've been here. I gotta dig down to get the sage out. I'm gonna go have a look at the spot here and pay respect to Kenny and the boys. When we got back from the fire at Donnie Creek after the boys had been killed, I mean, for the first couple days, maybe I was kind of okay, I guess, but then I sort of got isolated for a while and felt pretty anxious for a long time, and didn't really see anyone much for like 2 months.
Yeah.
You know, didn't go out or anything, or I wanted to come down to Kenny's funeral, but at the time, and then I regretted that I didn't. I forget what excuse I had at the time. Maybe it was an excuse, maybe it was legitimate. And then went back last April and worked a tour for the company again, and I mean, that was kind of it for me after that with the company, because like, I mean, boss hadn't changed much. I mean, Dubs is always awesome, but Big Boss hadn't really changed much, sort of his attitude, and I was kind of hoping that there'd be some kind of a change within the company at that point, like regarding, I mean, not just safety, I guess, but also like
being aware that you're on call, sort of thing.
Just emotionally, I guess, or whatever, or like just, I don't know, understanding that something happened, and a lot of us were going back to work for the first time last spring.
Yeah.
After that, and being together and talking about it. You know, for example, I was in Heather's crew, and Blain was like her stepson. And then there was just the whole driving down to Kamloops to go get my checks and stuff, and having to go down there to report in for work, and just the amount of driving to work for the company.
Yeah.
And it had always been kind of a point of nervousness for me, like, just like, wow, we're so exhausted, and for me to come 5.5 hours down to work a fire, you know, for 14 days and be so exhausted, have to go all the way north.
Yeah.
You know, there was times driving where I felt too tired, and even if it was the next day or whatever, because 14 days is a lot of work.
And then the accident happened to the guys who were driving that were stressed out.
And I was the guy that often was warning people. In fact, the last time I saw Kenny was up at Donnie Creek Fire, he was leaving in May of 2023, and I was telling him at the time, like, I don't know, guys, like, drive safe tonight, you know, like. But what had happened too, a lot of us ended up driving that night, and it was understandable because we had 130 millimeters of rain hit our camp, and a lot of us just couldn't do another day. I was like starting to physically break down. A lot of people got sick after just from being into that weather for days, camping in it. All our shit was wet. I had to sleep in Benson's tent because my tent got fucking wrecked from, you know, it got all windy, and it did rain like as heavy as it can rain at times for like a couple days, like record-breaking rainfalls, right?
And then you're feeling like it's taking care of your.
It's like, you know,
firefighting too.
It's like, I need to just go home. We need to go home. Like everyone kind of agreed. So we drove back to my house that night, and it was late.
Yeah.
And even then, it was a sketchy drive. And everyone stayed at my house that night, and you know, got a good rest and whatnot once we got there. But you know, that was kind of a self-preservation moment where just the spring weather fucking hit us so bad. But I kind of swore after that to never do that again. You know, it was earlier the same summer, and I really got on about it to people, and it was like something I was worried about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, had anxiety about it. You know, someone getting into an accident or something. You know, and it's just a matter of percentages. If you do it enough times, people are out there driving, even if it's the middle of the day. You know, it's the most dangerous thing we do, I always said, was just trying to get to and from fires. Like, once we're there, if it's dangerous, we run away.
Yeah. It's like, you know the dangers of fire, but you forget sometimes the dangers of mundane things that happen every day.
Well, there's truth to that too, yeah. Absolutely.
And
so, I mean, I just felt extra terrible, I guess partly for that reason too. Like, I had this premonition, this inkling, this, you know, like I knew it was going to happen to somebody or somehow, you know, for several years I've been worried about it. So Chief Pontiac, I know you gave this for me, but I'm going to leave one here for the boys. Thanks for giving me this so I could leave it for Kenny. It's nice looking, Dubs. You did good.
Well, I remember back in 1980, there was a whole bunch of Mennonite boys that were driving back and forth back east and bragging about how they drive straight through from Calgary to Ontario, you know, Highway 1, without sleeping.
Yep.
One guy by himself.
Well, I used to do that shit as a musician all the time, man. We go from Calgary, fucking play all night, drink all night, wake up the next morning, you know, tired, groggy. Who feels the least shitty? Get coffee into you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're driving to Winnipeg today.
Yeah.
You know, and of course that was 15 and 20 years ago, a lot of that, but, and I'm an incredibly different person now. I'm older, and I guess I've seen a lot of carnage on the road driving across Canada, playing shows for all those years, right?
Yeah.
Driving by accident scenes. And
so we had
but also that same year, so Hudson we just met, that same year, there was the accident outside Vanderhoof our crew got to, where we saved that guy Ryan's life.
Yeah.
Got the tourniquet on him, and then when I was in Kamloops on standby during the blow-ups in Kelowna, and I mean that was fucking traumatizing enough. And that same day, like, we didn't know if he was gonna live or not, because he was fucking out of it. Like,
you mean the guy you saved there at Vanderhoof?
We didn't find out for like 24 or 36 hours or something that he actually made it. And that same day, we like finally get out to the fire, like fire center. Like, we got in late, and they're like, "Oh, how come you guys are late?" And like, we were the ones that were at that accident scene. Like, "Oh yeah, you want some time?" Yeah. So we took a couple hours to sit before we went out. But then we went to that fire out by Taddock Lake, and everything's just fucking torching, and I'm standing there looking around like, what a day. You know, most people never have a day like I just had. Like, save a guy's.
I remember you posting it.
Save a stranger's life, and then fucking later that day, it's like everything's torching off, trying to make sure these fucking resorts don't burn down.
Yeah.
And I remember just feeling like I was with such good people.
Yeah.
Because we were able to do that. It's like, I feel really safe here. Like, everyone knows what to do, you know?
Yeah.
So then I'm in Kamloops during the blow up that's going on at Scotch Creek in Kelowna. We're on standby. That's the time I was telling you about where we're waiting for 3 days, and then we got a deployment order to go to Bella Coola.
Yeah.
And I was like, good, I don't want to be in interface fires down south. Like, it's not my game.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if I need to, if I'm told to, yeah. But while I was in there in town, I was staying at Scott's place there, and then we had this like crash outside his place at 7th Avenue at 7-Eleven. And so Scott runs out the door, and then he runs back in. He's like, they need first aid right fucking now, Joey. And I was like, my God. You know, it's like it was pretty much exactly a month after the accident at Ryan.
Yeah.
So I run out there, and what had happened was a guy, like, we heard him open his motorbike up his crotch rocket super fast.
Yeah.
And then heard the bang. So what happened was it's a divided street, and it's kind of dark, and he didn't have a headlight on his motorbike, and he just decided to open it up and see if he could go 200 kilometers down the street for some stupid reason.
Yeah.
So a guy turns left at the 7-Eleven there on 7th Avenue, North Kamloops, and of course the motorbike hits him. And I guess at the time too, like when the guy was turning, he realized, he's like, oh, if I hit the gas, maybe I can get by fast enough. But at the same time, the bike tried to skirt around him too.
Yeah.
And ended up, and the kid was fucking mangled. Like, it was bad. And Patricia Brewer, who I used to work in Barkerville, happened to be the other first aider there. She's in Vancouver Hospital, I think, right now with cancer or something.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember she was taking his pulse, and the kid was all mangled, like, you know. It was fucking bad. Like, kind of without, like, there's not really a chance. You know,
on a bike broadsiding a car, there's not a lot of chance.
A truck,
or a truck, yeah.
You know, just things broken and twisted and contorted in ways human body shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And Patricia was taking his pulse, and I put my hand on her hand. I just shook my head. It's like, you know, are you going to traumatize yourself to do CPR on this mangled kid? Like, there's no chance. Like, you know, and you shouldn't say that as a first aider, right? But at the same time, I've also done first aid on people who didn't have a chance. And it was unnecessarily difficult for me at the time after. And if there's a chance, okay, like, if there's a 5% chance, but I mean, you look at it, like, you're not coming back from this. Like,
No.
You're instantly dead. And then my instant reaction after that was like, well, who can we save here? And the driver of the other truck, of course, was just in shock and trauma.
Yeah.
So then we're going up to Donnie Creek, and Dallas and Hudson were in with me. But they didn't end up coming to the fire with us. I ended up jumping in with the Webster boys instead.
Yeah.
And as we're driving up, I'm telling Hudson how crazy my summer had been with all those accidents, and how sketched out I was about just being on the highway now. Like, and I was before. You know, I had these bad premonitions, and as I'm telling the story, he's like, wait, was that at 7th Avenue and 7-Eleven? I was like, yeah. He's like, forget the date, it was like the 21st of August, probably it was. And I said, yeah, that's exactly it, man. And he's like, that was my best friend. His other best friend, like Dallas, Hudson, and Dakota was the kid's name.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fucking wild. And then sort of bump into Hudson even today. It was kind of just, of him of all people, seemed a little bit weird, you know, like. good, but
Yeah.
kind of reminded me like how much carnage I actually witnessed that summer in my 75 fucking days working fires, not just driving around, not, you know, days off, but actually line days.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, you know, like I was already like, fuck, you know, the highway's so dangerous. I don't need to see any more of that. And then, of course, then we get to sit in that camp one night and start seeing people posting from our company like, oh my god, bro, no, stuff like that. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? You know, and of course Dubs didn't want to tell us names at first until the families knew.
Yeah.
So we like had to kind of do some math to figure out which crew it was. And then, you know, that's why the next day we didn't tell the red shirts yet that we knew. But at the end of the day, they're like, okay, we know now. Like, do you guys want to go home? And we're like, no. You know, like, we're together here. Like, we want to work because that's what we are, what we do. We want to be together. And that's what happened when I went home finally at the end of the tour. I just sat home and was like,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not that I went mental. It's like, it just, I don't know. Just grieving, you know? And it's like after a fire season, even a normal one, you can come home and it's like, you know, coming back from war, no one gets it. And while it's on, everyone's like, yeah, heroes, firefighters. You pull in the gas station, everyone sees you. How's it going? Wants to shake your hand, but then suddenly season's over and you're just a fucking guy. People are like, what did you do this summer? It's like, oh, I spent 75 days fighting fire. And they're like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
You know?
And you're like, yeah, it took a lot out of me.
Yeah, the fact that I don't have anyone around who can even relate a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember I went in to have dinner at Diggy's that first week I was back, and the fire chief at the time came in from Wells and sat down and didn't even acknowledge me. And I was so pissed off.
Yeah.
I was so pissed off. And I was so pissed off at my entire town because Brendan didn't acknowledge me. Just came in like I didn't exist. It's like, man, I just came back from like fucking fighting the fight.
Yeah. And a firefighter should be the person who...
And maybe I was a little bitter because he'd said he didn't want the chief job, so I put in for it, and then suddenly, and it was all like, okay, it's going to be Joey's job, and then suddenly it was like, okay, Brendan's the chief after a meeting at, you know, a town council meeting, right? So maybe I was a little like, not mad at him, but like yeah, whatever, fuck, fine, I guess, if that's how people want it. But so, I just felt so disrespected. He didn't know that my boys just got killed, but nobody knows. That's the thing, right? You come back from fire season, people don't know. They don't know what you went through and what you did.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's the story about some of that summer of 2023.